up, Blockchain Nation? So let's just get into it. So today I'm going to talk about a very exciting project in the crypto space, and that is called Solana. Very exciting. There's been a lot of noise about it recent times, and I just want to cover it real quickly. As you know, I was looking at different blockchain projects. In looking at these projects, it helps to improve my understanding, and at the same time, it also keeps me up to date with what's going on in this very exciting crypto space. So let's get into it. So what is Solana? So there are so many crypto projects out there, thousands of them, but this is a very unique project in my personal opinion. So let's start by asking, why do we need to have Solana? So obviously the most important, no, I won't say it, well, to me, the most important, people might debate that, is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is important because it kind of led the way for other cryptocurrencies to follow suit. However, Bitcoin has a couple of limitations. One of the limitations of Bitcoin is that it takes about 10 minutes to produce a block. And then with the limitations of Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies have emerged. Another one, or a very popular one, of course, is Ethereum. Now, the challenge with Bitcoin is Bitcoin takes about, like I said, 10 minutes to produce a block, while Ethereum takes about 10 seconds in order for it to produce a block, hence the word blockchain. Now, Solana boasts of being able to create a block every 400 milliseconds, which is extremely fast. One problem with Bitcoin is that it can only do about 7 transactions per second. 7 to 10 transactions in a second, as opposed to Ethereum, which boasts of being about 14 transactions per second. Now, Solana arguably can do about 500, at its peak, 500,000 transactions a second, which is a game changer, which is about 20x times what Visa can do. Now, why is this? So there's something called the cryptocurrency, or shall I say the blockchain trilemma, which means that with every project, there is a trade-off between it being decentralized, being secure, and also being scalable. So there's some projects that are decentralized and secure, but they cannot scale, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is decentralized, it's secure, but because of the nature of the network, it takes a lot to scale Bitcoin. Ethereum, on the other hand, is same concept too. It's decentralized, it's secure, but it has a problem also with scaling because the number of transactions it can do. Hence, there's always a trade-off. You can have a system that is decentralized and secure but might not scale, or scalable and secure but not decentralized. Good example is like a Binance Smart Chain. The Binance Smart Chain is fast, it can do about 60 transactions per second. However, it is all the nodes on the Binance network all the validator nodes are owned by Binance, which means it's very centralized. So how is Solana very different? So a challenge with every network is that it has to have something called a concept called consensus, which means the agreement on the state of the network. Now, one of the challenges, or what is consensus or agreement that Bitcoin uses, is something called proof of work. Ethereum, but as of the time I'm recording this, uses proof of work, but is migrated to something called proof of stake. Now, what Solana has is a different consensus algorithm, which is called proof of history. Now, I'll explain what that means. Proof of history is like proof of stake, but there's a timestamp attached to every block. Each block that is produced has a specific stamp attached to it. So the network can keep on producing blocks. So because there's a timestamp attached to each block, it can always arrange the blocks, hence the word, blockchain, and they form a chain of blocks. But because each block has a timestamp, it's easy, it can keep on producing blocks, and it can order them according to the stamp or the timestamp on each block that is produced, which is very, very, very powerful. Now, one of the great things about the Solana project, I believe that everything rises and falls upon its creators, is this guy by the name of Anatoly Yakovenko. Now look at his experience right here. He was a co-founder of Altair back in 2001, 2003, but this is very important. He worked in a company called Qualcomm. Now, Qualcomm used to write software, or he used to write software that runs on millions of mobile devices, which means that before iOS and Android in the early 2000s, phones used to run on something called Brew, which is a binary runtime environment for wireless. It's very popular back in the days, and he used to write code on Brew. Why that is important is because this was back in the days whereby they didn't have the hardware that could really interact, could make it very performant for your software, your applications to run with your mobile phone. And it was making very performant software back in the days, early 2000s, using this writing code on Brew, which is very powerful. So which is why he came up with this concept, this consensus for Solana, which is a very, very difficult thing to do in my opinion, because there's so many crypto projects out there, which are sometimes, a lot of them, for instance, are built on top of other existing projects, like on top of Bitcoin, you have so many, on top of Ethereum, you have so many tokens. And even if you look on CoinMarketCap, you see thousands of tokens, and they're all built on top of Ethereum because the concept of coming up with a project. Now, there are some great projects out there. There's Cardano, there's Neo, and a whole bunch of projects. And I've done a video about a couple. But it's powerful. It's interesting to come up with an idea like this, and Anatoly was able to come up with a fantastic, phenomenal consensus algorithm. So the powerful thing about Solana also is that it's an upgrade of, in my opinion, of Ethereum. What I mean by it's an upgrade of Ethereum, what I mean by that is Ethereum was solving a problem that Bitcoin couldn't solve, which is the concept of a smart contract, which allows people to go into a contract with each other without having to worry about human beings, but just worry about code. Now, the powerful thing about what they've done at Solana is that the smart contracts run on as opposed to Ethereum, which uses EVM, or the Ethereum virtual machine, which means you should know a specific programming language like Solidity. Solana runs smart contracts run at a very high level with a programming language called Rust, which is why it's very, very different. One other thing about Solana is that there are 25 blocks are validated by 25 nodes at once. It's similar to proof of stake, but there are no requirements to be a validator, which is powerful. So if you see the questions of how can I be a validator on Solana, how do I run a validator node? To get started, check out our docs. And the great thing about what is a validator, validators form the backbone of Solana's network, like how you have miners on Bitcoin. By processing transactions and participating in consensus, each validator helps make Solana's more high-performance blockchain network, the most high-performance blockchain network in the world, who can run a validator node anyone. So like on Ethereum, which when you have to run a validator node, you have to stake Ethereum, which is very, very expensive. You can just stake a little bit of Solana Sol and you pay a small fee to be a validator. But why should I run a validator node? Same way how miners get rewarded on Bitcoin, validators also get rewarded with Sol for helping to secure the network, which is a very, very powerful concept. Okay, one thing to notice that about just to reiterate, that the consensus algorithm of Solana is proof of history. Proof of history allows nodes to keep on producing blocks and then they can assemble them after, because each block is time-stamped. That's a very, very powerful thing about Solana that we really have to reference, and I have to reiterate again. All right, last couple of things I'll say is this. What makes a network very powerful? People say that what's stopping me from just starting my own crypto project? Absolutely nothing. But in order for you to have a network effect and for it to become popular and scale, you have to have users, you have to have miners or validators, you have to have a core team of users, and of course you have to have software developers who are building applications on top of this. So that's the powerful thing about Solana. There is a crypto wallet where you can download and you can hold your Sol. This is like Phantom. It's called Phantom. It's kind of like MetaMask for Ethereum. It's one of the most popular Sol wallets. And Solana, just like in how you have in Ethereum, you have smart contracts, you have non-fungible tokens. NFTs are growing, exploding. I've done a video about NFTs. And then developers, up to 1 million in global prices and seed funding. So because there are more and more developers that are building on top of this, there's a very popular YouTuber, Joma. He has this video, I wish I could find it, whereby he serves on records for his NFTs. So Joma has started his own non-fungible tokens, and let me just pull this down here. Where is this? Check out my new data science, stay in touch with me, blah, 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 blah. Check out this Twitter website. There we go, VaxDog. So Joma is a very popular YouTuber, and he has his own VaxDogs, which is a collection of 25,000 NFTs created by German tech YouTuber, so you can buy your doggo. And the great thing about this, where I brought this up, is that he actually built this whole NFT project on Solana, because Solana white paper and roadmap for his vaccinated dogs, which I think is interesting. It's kind of like CryptoKitties, but Vax dogs. Who knows? Maybe I'll do a video about this. So here we go. Vax dogs by Joma Tech, kind of like, yeah, two Sol. So he built his entire project on top of Solana, because one powerful thing about Solana as opposed to Ethereum and Bitcoin is that the fees are very, 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 very low, which is a fraction of a dollar, which is a huge advantage of Solana. It's faster and it's cheaper, which is very important. It's faster and it's cheaper. One of the trade-offs about Solana might be that it's centralized. As of the time I'm recording this, about 48% of the tokens are owned by the insider community of Solana, and about 30% are owned, I think they are given for development on Solana. And the argument might be it's kind of centralized, but what Solana is boasting about doing is sometime down the line, they want to be able to gift most of the tokens to the community and make them more public. So in the beginning, it's centralized in terms of, yes, it's faster, it's cheaper, and anybody can run a node, which is great, but most of the tokens are held internally by the Sol team. But eventually, if they make these tokens publicly available and they give them away to the community as the investors give away most of the tokens that they have, and also anyone can run a validator node, then it solves that problem of it being centralized and it becomes more decentralized, more open. And when you have more projects like this that are running on this, maybe I'll probably do a video about this sometime in the future, about Vax dogs. Total volume is 53546, our retail price, I digress. But yeah, it's interesting to see projects like this that are actually on Solana. So it looks like it's a interesting project. I like the fact that it's cheaper to do transactions on Solana. I like the fact that there's a large community of developers. I like the fact that anyone can run a validator node, and it's very interesting to see how this project will run out. Now, I'm not talking about price or about the economics of Solana. I just like to see how this plays out. I don't give financial advice, but I really think this is a very exciting project, and I'm excited to see exactly what's going to come out of Solana. So, yeah, that's all I have. Until next time, my wish for you is that you learn more about cryptocurrencies, because crypto is changing and will change the world. And those who get involved early, in my personal opinion, will greatly impact the future. And if that is you, then let's go change the world.
If you would like to create more awareness for your brand or content, or you would like to earn additional income, register now on www.CLIQKI.com. The more you share, the more you earn. CLIQKI,